On this episode of ResiWeek, SnapAV buys Access Networks, ProSource's new lighting showroom and certifications, and air-gapped microwaves with voice control. All this and more on this episode of ResiWeek.
The network for the AV industry.
What are you listening to?
This
is AV.
This
is AVNation.
This is AVNation.
This is ResiWeek, episode 275, Air Gap Popcorn.
Support for AVNation is brought to you by
Just Add Power, the global leader in video over IP solutions with systems that give you easy installation, unmatched scalability, and outstanding performance.
Welcome to this episode of ResiWeek. This is your weekly roundup of all the latest news and stories for the residential AV industry. I'm your host, Matt D. Scott for AVNation.tv. And this week, I'm pleased to be joined by four of my close friends. First, we have Mr. G. Paul Heiss. He's the Chief Product Officer at SnapAV. How you doing, G. Paul?
Doing fantastic. Thanks for having us.
Thank you for being here. Then we have Bryce Nordstrom. He is the CEO of Access Networks. How you doing, Bryce?
Doing great, Matt.
Then we've got Jason. It's a big show today. Then we got Jason Nod. He is the Chief Content Officer at CE Pro. What's up, Jason?
Last but least. Nice to be here.
You're not last.
I know.
Henry's last.
No, I'm least.
Henry, no, you're not least. You're just last. Mr. Clifford, he is the president of Livewire and the co-founder of Parasol. How you doing, Henry?
Hey, Matt. Great to be with you guys today.
Thank you all for joining us. As I said, we've got a big show because we've got big news. This filtered out. I'm trying to think when I saw this. I feel like it was maybe Wednesday I started to hear some rumbles.
It was Wednesday. That was public, yes.
So maybe I heard it Tuesday. I heard something and I reached out to a couple of people and heard some stuff. This is coming to us from CE Pro. SnapAV has acquired Access Networks. Obviously, fairly big news. Access Networks has been the darling of the residential network market. I didn't even get a smile from Bryce out of that, just so everyone knows. He didn't even smile at the darling comment. But they really have. They have revolutionized the way the residential channel deals with networking. So for both companies, this is a massive deal. G. Paul, let me start with you on this. As I said, this is a pretty massive deal for both companies. Now, you've already got two networking brands solutions under the SnapAV umbrella. You're adding a third. I will happily argue that these are not the same things, but tell us a little bit about why you guys pursued Access and what it adds to your brand portfolio.
Well, clearly, the Access Networks team is the best in the business. And as we think about our portfolio, we look at what we call a product screen internally. And so we zoom out and we look at all the applications. We look at the markets we serve and the partners that are operating those markets and their needs. And we've seen, predating COVID, of course, COVID only amplified the need for a more stable network. We all are seeing more devices in the homes and the businesses that just proliferate. And we've all seen a need for a higher level experience for design and support services, configuration services, and ongoing support. So as I mentioned on that product screen, as we zoom out, there is clearly a place for Arachnus and Package. And I'll be the first to admit there's some overlap in those two brands, and we will continue to differentiate those two brands as we go through different product cycles. But Access Networks really is the capstone, if you will, of the portfolio, and that's there for partners who want only the best, have applications that demand the best, or need support designing, configuring, and delivering the best.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Bryce, this is a fairly big deal for you and for Haggai and the whole team there at Access. What does it mean? What do you forecast? What do you see going forward as really a tight-knit company is now joining a significantly larger company that I don't want to say there's different personas within those two different companies, but things will kind of change a little bit. How does Access maintain what people have come to love about Access as you work with a bigger company now?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, I guess the first thing is the only thing really constant is change, right? I mean, that's pretty much what we see in our industry every day, is that things are constantly evolving, changing, and we've got to look at how we can meet the market and meet the demand, and kind of think outside the box sometimes. And I think that's what in this scenario with Snap and with Access Networks, that's a little bit of what's going on, because obviously they had the two brands already, and how do they provide the best possible solutions for their dealer base, and this is one of the ways to continue that commitment. But as far as like the internal side of it and what it means for our team, I'm over the last few months going through all the different conversations we had with the Snap team, and seeing the culture at the different levels in the organization as we started to interface more and more regularly. I'm very confident in the fact that our team will blend in very well with the Snap organization as a whole. We have a very tight-knit team, and the reality is in the next bit of time, whether that's a year, 18 months, that's really not going to change. Our team is going to stay very focused on what its core mission is, which is managed services, providing clients and dealers the best possible solutions on the network perspective. And as we start to integrate, we hope to, we'll bring some of that culture in from Snap, but we'll also be looking to push some of our culture into Snap. Because we bring a lot of very smart, talented people to the table, and they're all anxious to make a mark and show how what we've done in the past can be filtered into the rest of the Snap organization. So I have no doubt in my mind that this is going to be a successful partnership, and very, very good for the integrators as a whole, as far as what the services and product roadmap looks like moving forward.
Yeah, that's awesome. Jason, you obviously covered this. You wrote this article specifically. What does this mean to the network landscape within the channel as a whole? Does this technically change something? Does it change anything?
I don't know that it changes anything, but it'll be interesting. You look at what Snap has successfully did with Control4 and Sunbright, just a couple of brands that they did acquire, and they were able to take what was niche brands and really expose them to a much broader base of integrators. Although Control4 I wouldn't necessarily call it niche, but it actually certainly got exposed to many more integrators than it was before, and I'm certain they're going to probably do the exact same thing with Access Networks. And it's funny because SnapAV people, the first thing I'm hearing from everybody is, oh, Snap's becoming the Amazon of the industry, and you hear that, and there's some good things, and I don't know if they're saying that positively or negatively, but think about it. Amazon is the one-stop shop, and that's and they're known for their service. So that's probably a good thing. On the flip side, Amazon is basically a margin eater, and Snap certainly does not have that as their mantra. So I think they're going to take the good parts of that label and then also continue with their same element that Access Network certainly isn't at the low end of the spectrum in any way, shape, or form that's going to have its margin eaten by something.
Yeah, as soon as you mentioned Amazon, I was like, is that a bad thing? Like, I get it, but man, Prime free delivery next day? I like it. Take note. Mr. Clifford, let's wrap this story before we move on with you. From the dealer side, from the integrator side, does this change anything for you? Does this news, if it's something where you're an Access Networks dealer today, but you're not a Snap dealer,
signed up and
does that change your relationship with that vendor? If you were a SnapAV but not an Access Network, and now you have potentially some easier access to that, does it change anything?
We were able to submit a design to Access. They put it together, and we sold our first $40,000 network. And that was the beginning of a relationship where we never looked back. And Access Networks became this confidence booster for us. And in the industry where there's always going to be level 1, level 2 certifications, there's going to be folks who make it to really advanced technical status in-house. But not many companies out there are going to hire Cisco certified network administrators or other resources like that in-house. So hearing about this Access deal and the pairing with Snap, and I'm in this call right now with two guys who've bailed us out of sticky situations as an integrator, as a dealer with Bryce and with GPaul, right? And just seeing their approach towards service and support, I can only imagine amazing things are going to come from that. So that's just where I sit as, you know, running one of these integration businesses. I couldn't be happier about it.
Hey, thanks for watching the first segment of this week's episode. To catch the entire show, please click the link below or visit avnation.tv. That's avnation.tv.